It is pertinent. I don't know why he did like. I think he must have taken like an antihistamine or something like that.
You think?
I don't know.
Good,
You're in the green room.
We are. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to
We are back in the
we're
green
back
room after
after our
right.
summer vacation.
Well, listen, I mean, for sure. I mean, there's so much going on, but it's almost like a constant drone, as we like to say, the ebb and flow of life. But I know you went up
Just
up
to
home,
Boston,
up to Boston, sure.
Had some lobsters and chowder and
Yeah.
delicious seafood, which I miss all the time.
Listen, I want to start the show with what's in our background. We lost one of our true Canada warriors on July 4th, actually.
Yeah, she died on July 4th.
She did, and just like Kathy Jordan, to do that now, of course, everybody has remembrances as the fireworks burst in the air, because that's what Kathy was. For those that don't know, Kathy, because I know we have viewers from everywhere, Kathy Jordan was the original mother of all cannabis warriorship here in Florida. ALS survivor of 34 years, interestingly enough.
I read her information yesterday, and I was really impressed.
So there's movies been made about her. The original cannabis law in Florida was named, so to speak, after her. She absolutely had a lot to do with bringing smokable cannabis to Florida. So we want to remember Kathy. There's going to be a celebration of life.
Oh, nice.
It's there it is. I'm going to get up so it can be seen. So
July 14th,
it's this Sunday at 1:30 in Sarasota, actually. And anybody that wants to know more details, easily found. Go to Florida Can. She was a past president of Florida Cannabis Action Network, and a dear friend of Jody James, and many others.
The Sarasota Herald Tribune or somebody, I think they had a big article on her yesterday or the day before.
You know what? I must have missed it. Now I'll pull it back up. But I listen, and everybody just knows the impact that Kathy had. I want to give condolences to John, her son, and her daughter-in-law who helped care for her, Bob Jordan, who's now up in Maine. Her, her ex-husband, of course.
But to survive ALS, there was in the article.
Well, no, the secretions. Her secretions were dried up by a specific cultivar of cannabis, Mayaca Gold, actually, that Bob was thrown into jail over. Or had whatever, the day after he testified up in Tallahassee for Kathy. It was pretty scandalous back in the time. You were living down here, so you may remember the stories. You may not have focused on them, but well known within the industry. And, she's just another of a series of losses that we've had, and, never to diminish Kathy, of course. But for sure, Bobby Tuna and Bill Monroe. And we lost our, pediatric, Janice Lute and Paige Figgy, Jennifer Perdomo. Would be another Colby Wise, who was a cannabis warrior. So listen, but here's the point: the years go by.
They do go.
And it segues. You can put up the our backdrop about cognitive. You get that brain.
Did you see all the articles about cannabis today? There's like a million of them.
No, I didn't actually.
Oh my God. Tampa Bay Times has it. Orlando Sentinel has it.
Oh, is that right?
So Tampa Bay, we'll start with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has an article on the fact that if Amendment 3 passes in the state of Florida, there is no expungement, which is crazy because people think there is, and there isn't. So that was an article today about that space. Then Orlando today has a huge article about donations from donors in the hemp space to DeSantis's PAC. So that's a little interesting.
No, that is. I can't wait to read the article.
$100,000 donation.
Is that right?
From the hemp industry.
That's why he vetoed the hemp bill, ostensibly, and it wasn't necessarily private to the extent of the discussions that he was hoping that the quote unquote hemp space would step up in opposition to Amendment 3 because of the vertical nature, of how Florida is set up.
They had a lot of
it's disingenuous. We talked about that screen.
It was interesting because they have DeSantis's quotes, obviously. And
I can't wait to read the article.
Yeah. It's like I said, it was full of today. I woke up in the morning. I'm like, wow.
It's a complicated campaign.
And it's cognitive lessons. We all learn a lot about everything.
I was going to pause here and not finish my sentence. You know what? Listen, let's go to the big elephant in the room, because we have had a green room literally since, I don't think, the debate. I know because it was 2 weeks ago, the debate today.
Yeah.
And we've been off for a couple weeks, and the Supreme Court ruling, I think.
Oh my God, which made me so nauseous.
What it's done is it's ramped up the urgency, quite frankly, of who can and will beat Donald Trump. And it's complicated. It is,
It's
because the
very
Joe
complicated.
Biden that we see on some degree of a regular basis, but he's been so highly, no pun intended, because we know he's not using cannabis. Maybe if he was, we wouldn't. No, I'm kidding. And we'll get back to that as topics go. But, you know, it's what we were talking about when we came in, you know, to the green room. I wish he would have admitted that he took an antihistamine, for example. Hang on, at 81.
Yes.
Or, I mean, I've had colds before and my voice is raspy,
Yes,
but
of
it doesn't.
course. It doesn't signify that.
Oh, I'm coming back. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I'm an emergency physician. I'm now 68. Everybody knows I had my birthday. 50-year high school reunion coming up in 3
That's
weeks. Hello, Akron,
incredible.
Ohio. I know, I can't believe it.
Wow.
But if I was still working in the ER, okay, to what degree of that would be allowed? ER doctors work long hours. They work different shifts. They get exhausted. They get stressed. See, to me, and we'll see what goes on in that news conference tonight.
I agree. I think we need to give it
Because
a little bit of time.
what shocked me, I think, and what may have shocked Grandpa Joe into whatever stupor he was in that night, and it was.
And
Listen, if I would freeze during a code like that, seriously, someone would say, Dr. Barry, do you understand what happened during that? And I really have to tell your boss, so you're going to be sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Which no ER doctor ever wants to
be in the chair.
Never in the chair.
Never in the chair.
But seriously, so to me, I just don't know what happened. And I wish they would have begged out over COVID. Okay, still waiting for the test. Or if he took an antihistamine, just admit it the next day.
Just call it. They could have called it.
But it gets confusing because you see him on the world stage, okay, obviously in a managed circumstance. I got it. But here's what I hope he says tonight, okay, in that press conference.
Was also just coming out of all these conferences overseas.
It was
exhausting.
I got it. I don't disagree with that either. I don't disagree, and I think it's a pretty low shot from George Clooney to, you know, because Biden literally flew across country after coming back from Europe to go to a fundraiser that Clooney wouldn't change the date of.
I know.
So that's, you know, listen, and I'm 68 and I get beat up when I travel that way.
I got beat up.
I know. I got it.
No, it's exhausting.
So what I hope Grandpa Joe says tonight, okay, in the news conference, and I think that's what he is, quite frankly. You know, I think in general he's 95% capable. I really do. What I would come out with tonight when whatever Fox reporter asked me a question or this or that, I would say I was so stunned by the lies coming out of, you know, Donald Trump's mouth that quite frankly, I froze up. I didn't really know how to respond to it. I wasn't prepared for it. No, seriously, because that's the cacophony, like that word, everybody, cacophony of lies. Well, that's like cornucopia, literally flowing out of the end. Because that's what it is with Trump. He's dangerous. He's a never-ending spew of lies.
So I don't know if anybody's watching this series. If you haven't, you really should.
I saw you posted something. Sure.
Oh my gosh. It's Turning Point, and it's about the nuclear wars and bombs and things like that. But what it does is it goes from from post World War I through today. And I'm actually only on series number 4. There was a wow moment yesterday. Can I tell you why?
Sure.
So they're going through all the corruption, and they're going through McCarthyism, which was a horrible time in America.
Yep.
With Roy Cohn.
53-ish,
54. Yep, 51 to 54. Do you know who Roy Cohn's advisor became an advisor to? Donald Trump Sr., who hired Cohn to actually go and train Donald Trump. Donald J. Trump on the art of politics.
Sure.
And it has to do with communism. Oh my God, it is frightening. It was scary. And there's pictures of it. And of course, the idiot Trumpsters are going to deny those are pictures. But history shows by pictures.
No, it's deep. It's deep. It's complicated. And that's why, you know, Project 2025, you know, the Heritage Foundation, you know, paper that, and I believe it because it's been going on literally since the days of Ronald Reagan and earlier.
And do you know?
And you know, there is a wing of the country that wants Christian nationalism. They just
Christian nationalism, and what they were teaching to teach how to become a demagogue.
Sure.
In the Hitler style.
Oh, there's a
Stalin
playbook
style.
for it. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Cohn was coaching
That's
Trump.
crazy.
It is insane. Like, and
So
you have to watch it.
it'll
It's
be interesting, but I
crazy.
think right now it'll be interesting to watch that news conference tonight.
Yes.
And to see how he handles it. But my point is that I don't know. Something happened that night, and I don't know what it is, but I'm still going to vote for Team Biden.
Oh God,
over
100%.
Team Trump
Dude,
every day,
it's
no matter who's leading the team.
It's not
It's
even
Team
Team Trump.
Normalcy,
It's Team Normalcy.
Team
Take it
not
off.
chaos, Team Rule of
Honesty,
Law.
facts, rule
I
of
don't know.
law,
But I'm worried about the
believing in
Supreme
science
Court
and-
ruling. I just
Okay,
don't understand. So I'm the boss of Compassionate Cannabis Clinic, right? No, hang on. Right. So I guess I have official X, right? No, I'm not. I'm saying no.
Just don't kill us.
No, it's scary to think
No,
that a man who, quite frankly, is a malignant narcissist,
That's
literally
fear.
kind of on the edge of insanity, quite frankly.
Yes, on the edge of insanity.
And he's got 6-3 on the Supreme Court that came down with that.
But that
Nobody
ruling-
expected that.
No, nobody expected that. And honestly, the founding fathers have to be rolling over in their graves because why did we break away from England to get away from monarchy, to get away from having a king? And they just literally put a crown on this
It's just
person.
bizarre.
And I don't care if it's Trump or anybody. People are like, oh, it's only because you fear Trump. It's not. I don't want any Democrat. I don't want any Republican.
course
I don't want
not.
anybody to have that kind of omnipotent power.
It's
I'm
just
like,
bizarre. It's just it's a
oh,
complete
it's
head shaker
crazy.
for
No,
what I
it's
call
repulsive.
us normal. I don't know. I mean, listen, I talk to
People
patients
should
every
be
day.
outraged at that.
I talk to patients every day, and I'm one of the few people I think in this world, quite frankly, and it's one of my joys, that get that therapy every day.
No, it is
It is.
therapy.
I talk to 20, 25 patients, some days, good days, 30, 35, whatever it may be. And I hear what's going on, and I have the chance to vent to people. I have what I call my little 2024 abnormal speech. Okay. The older you are, the more you look at 2024 as completely different than what you grew up with. And I know that sounds so old. Sorry, Tiff, the youngest one in here is sitting behind the computer over there. Sounding so old and crotchety, and I don't mean to.
No.
But as I tell everybody, my
There's a
4
thing.
pegs of the stool, and if we've talked about it in the green room before, and it's the 8th time, that's my cognitive failure today. I apologize. But it's
No, this is
politics,
crazy.
sports, healthcare, and cannabis. And over the past 10 years, all 4 of those things are completely unrecognizable.
Unravel.
From
Honestly,
healthcare.
From healthcare on.
Listen,
it's
we
just-
have the federal Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 discussion at the federal level. I haven't heard much about that, and I'll probably be buried within the campaign. So who knows what's going to happen with that? And I'm not in favor of Schedule 3. Absolutely not. Descheduling is the answer. We doctors and we advocates and we that preach and we had Don Murphy, in the green room from Washington discussing it. There's no chance of descheduling. There's not. So we're going to have to swallow hard and accept Schedule 3 when it happens, and then face the intended consequences and the unintended consequences of what it's going to mean, especially in light of Florida's Amendment 3, which is another discussion.
Another one that's going to be up
Of course it is. So all those moving parts are going to result
even know what kind of changes
in a changed world of medicine,
it's
of cannabis.
It's ever changing.
My guardians, although they're the Indians to me, but I'll call them the guardians because I'm a liberal progressive and that's what they want me to do. I'm kidding, but sports isn't the same either. Okay.
Sports
And
have become political and they never should
and
have
monetized
been.
and monetized in ways that are crazy now. Now listen what goes on now in sports. Now there's in-game bets. See? So people now bet on how many points a player is going to score, even in a quarter or a half, how many home runs a player may have on any given night, or how many total bases. Seriously. So the monetary influence is just crept in to almost every aspect,
so then you have to
of
wonder
society.
that, when those boxing matches, they used to be notorious for boxers throwing a match because the bets were so heavy on some one-armed person who's gonna like, strong arm the result.
Yeah.
So that's like I said, between the money and the politics and everything, it's just so disheartening.
Well, it is right now. It's hard.
I
It's
don't
a
know.
hard slog.
It is a hard slog, but like the thing is like, okay, so I was up in Boston, and Boston notoriously is an extremely liberal, progressive state. And it also has, it has a melting pot of people from all over the world. They have a lot of high level educators and universities there. And they're shaking their head. I mean, everybody.
Well, they are.
They are. They're shaking their heads, and all of them are
Well,
like
the foreign leaders and the foreign leaders too.
Oh my God, the foreign
you know.
leaders forget. The
So to
foreign
me, it's
leaders are
interesting
totally
because just
shaking
getting
their
back
head. But
to
let's
what's
be
behind me.
even, But even France, look, they couldn't even pick. They couldn't even.
Listen, it's crazy everywhere. It is.
It's going nuts.
It is, and listen to it. What's behind us? I don't know what that cognitive testing level necessarily looks like, and I mean, to me, I don't know. I don't do really well with things that start at 9 o'clock, anymore necessarily either. So I don't know who was handling Biden that night.
That's the thing. Everything goes prime time, and so like, it depends. Like, for me, like,
it was awful.
It was just awful.
It was really one of the most awful. Listen, I think since the Browns lost, like in the drive or the fumble or something like that, it was like literally one of the most awful.
No, those were like.
It was because you had the expectations of the debate. Yeah. And finally, somebody's going to stand up to these lies and this nonsense.
And that's the thing. Like,
and there were softballs early. There were softballs early.
But say you had.
Even when you talk immigration, you're the one that blocked the progress, you idiot.
But he never even answered a question.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. So I don't know what that is. I don't.
But the only thing
is confusing.
The only thing, though, this is for me, which is sad. If you had an Obama up against him, Obama would have taken him out and dragged him across the coals to lunch. You know what I mean?
Can Kamala do that? Who can do that?
And
that's the confusing thing.
I think Kamala would too. I think Kamala's an attorney. She would have ripped him apart. But like, but this is the thing.
But I can't imagine a convention a week from now where they're going to rain balloons down on this felon.
On a felon.
And they're gonna glorify his vision, of what his America is gonna look like. An angry America, an America of retribution. Listen, you were in Boston and you traveled. And I've been, privileged to travel pretty good amount recently myself and this and that. Country's good.
Oh my God.
People are good.
I wanted to talk to you about that.
I mean, there are haves and have-nots. I got it.
But it's so
true. But to think that Trump is going to bring good to the have-nots? Are you kidding me?
The airport,
what do the haves have to complain about?
The lines at the airport were through the roof. People are traveling. Restaurants were packed. Everybody.
Who wants the chaos of Donald Trump?
Nobody, because nobody wants to.
That's why I'm telling you, Ruta, I still somehow, and I'm the optimist, I guess, and I guess cannabis helps me with that. I still believe when people get behind the curtain or however you vote these days, they want people doing taxes and all that and this and that. And
I'm hoping.
I just gotta think that people that may say that they're for Trump out there because they're afraid they're going to get shot if they don't. Listen, that's the
my
thing.
fear is they're not going to vote for anybody, and that's even because
I don't know.
There's a lot of people that don't want either one.
To me, there's
I'm
a
one
big,
of them, but like, but still, I have to.
The biggest difference of all is when Biden's son was convicted. The jurors in that case had no problems talking about it, letting know who they were.
Nobody was threatening.
Of course. Whereas those Trump jurors from New York are still under wraps. And probably will be for as long as they possibly can.
They almost have to go into the security.
So to say there's no difference, between who fights under Marcus of Queensberry rules, so to speak, and who's sitting there, and to talk about bloodshed and civil war and the changes will only occur if the left allows it to be bloodless or something like that. That's nonsense.
But now imagine with the Supreme
this way.
With this Supreme
Court
ruling is actually even more frightening because if you have a sociopath,
left or right, man.
Yeah, if you have seriously a sociopath like Trump and to give him that crown is beyond frightening. It really is beyond. It is. That actually worries me more than anything, really more than anything, because that almost gives him really supreme power. I mean, it really does. The guy can walk in and do whatever he wants, and you're in a cloak. Not just him.
It's bizarre. It's just such a bizarre concept because those that perform the actions won't have the same immunity as him. So
Nobody.
who's going to follow this?
Thank you.
You know, so I guess
I guess
in the
someone is
Doral,
above the law.
well, I guess in the Doral thing a couple nights ago, I guess Rubio had his whole family there. And
Oh my
everything.
God, did you see that? The little Marco is all of a
Who
sudden.
wants to be Trump's vice president?
Obviously,
Who-
little Marco does.
I know there's others, J.D. Vance,
Are you
and the
kidding?
Senate,
What's his
whatever,
face?
and Kirkham, and
Cruz. What's his face? That little
Vivek Ramaswamy,
that disgusting
whoever
guy
it may
that's
be.
in Florida. What's his name? I can't even think of his name. I can't stand him. The guy, the
Byron
Charles
Donald,
Fraud-
you mean,
the
or
senator. He's a repulsive
Yeah.
crook from the HCA guy. What's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm having a
Rick Scott,
Rick
of course.
Scott.
Oh, cognitive
I'm
moment.
cognitive
No, I love
moment,
it.
dude.
See,
I'm
there you
having a
go.
cognitive moment. God, the big crook.
I know.
He's like wanting to be the.
Anybody, I don't get it. I just don't, because they want to carry that mantle forward of 33 to 33% of the country that may want these draconian 1950s Handmaid's Tale
Ugh.
kind of.
So what?
life.
Yeah. What about like really now
You know.
the Project 2025? Did you hear Trump? I never heard of it.
Oh,
I
you
don't
know
even know what it is. 140 of his former staff members are part of it. I don't have no idea. Yet it's on TV and he watches TV 24 hours a day. Yet he has no idea. He never.
So
heard of it.
I
I'm
think
like,
it's going to
okay.
be really interesting as we roll into next week's
Craziness.
Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. You've been to Milwaukee? Ever been?
I've never been to
Milwaukee's
Milwaukee.
an awesome town.
Is it
Oh
really?
yeah, no, very
Chicago-
much like
Chicago-
Cleveland.
to like a-
No, it's
or
close to
northern
Chicago. It's just smaller. It's kind of like more of a Cleveland,
Oh,
you know.
okay. I've
But
been to Cleveland.
but a
Okay.
great Midwestern town and
nice,
great,
yeah.
just great,
I
you know,
just
great
remember
people.
Milwaukee from Laverne and Short.
Of course, I know, I know. But I
Okay,
just,
I
you know,
know.
be interested in me to see the commentators during that convention and how, if they could get guests like Bill Barr, like General Kelly, okay, like Mike Pence. And I mean it.
No,
People
I
that are not
agree.
at that convention because they're not supporting
They're
this
not
lawless
supporting
criminal.
him.
I mean it. And to
Hard-
what
hard
extent are
copy,
those
yeah.
type of people going to stand up and say, everybody, listen, I got it. There's a reason we're not here.
Yeah.
And no matter what you think about Grandpa Joe and where he's at or whatever else happens. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to come up with an alternative ticket? You know, my sister, and I respect her, and she's
I don't
much
think
more
so.
liberal than myself. She actually believes that Joe Manchin has a chance.
Oh God.
This is my sister, and I said,
No.
Fran, are you really?
No, people.
I
don't
know,
like Joe Manchin.
I know,
personally
I
would
know.
vote for Joe
As
Manchin.
a unifying,
He's
like,
not a
full-
unifier.
I
The
know.
guy's a piece of crap.
So-
he's like he plays both sides of the fence. It's
I
like,
got it.
yeah,
I
can't
got it.
stand
I
Manchin.
got to think that any ticket
Somebody
that goes
else, maybe.
forward that's not Grandpa Joe has got to be Kamala and either a Josh Shapiro or a Gavin. I don't think it wouldn't be Newsom because they're both in
Newsom.
California.
Yeah, no, Newsom.
It wouldn't be that.
I wish I personally like Newsom. I really do. I
Maybe a
visit him.
Kritzker out of Illinois
Maybe
or
Jeff-
something. Or maybe
Hakeem Jeffrey. But
yeah,
that
could
would
you have
be-
two women and have
but
Michigan's?
yeah,
you know?
or two women. That would
No, that
it
wouldn't
won't
work either,
It won't work
you
either.
know.
'Cause
So
the
I think
country's
that's
so
some
crazy
kind of
on
a
that.
problem to a certain extent, and you know, I think as horrible as it sounds,
The
you know,
Democrats for years.
because I think
have
Kamala's done a great
won.
job. You know, I have no issues with her.
I'm not
It's
really
not
impressed. I
great,
don't
but
think-
well,
I'm
they haven't
not
given her much to
impressed.
do.
That's it.
But,
Most presidents
they
don't
don't.
do a lot.
They don't.
That's
They
the
don't.
problem. They don't. And
I know.
I mean, I think she's a very smart woman. I mean, she's obviously a great. She was a great prosecutor. She's, you know, smart. They said really smart.
Sure.
She just hasn't had a
And
good
young.
role. And young.
Next
and
generation. I think
she
that's the
is.
point.
we
That's
need a
why I
next
think
generation.
out of all of this and all the that's and all, you know, I think
Well, he's starting to attack her. Did you notice?
I do.
Trump
I
was
did.
quiet Because
I
all
did.
of a sudden now there is that throw out that maybe Kamala will lead the ticket. Actually, and they said the younger generation will all come out in favor of because it's somebody younger. It's just somebody younger.
That's the point, you know.
Yeah,
And I don't
it's-
know. I think it is going to take a Schumer with Pelosi and you know other close people to you know Biden to convince him to do it. He ain't gonna hit, you know.
She won't stay. I'm sorry. Like I know
I
I'm
know.
sorry. I get flack
She
for
didn't
this
look too
every
good
day.
yesterday either.
No, but the thing is, I post a lot of political things. I have a lot of political people on my page. They attack me anytime I talk about ageism. And I'm sorry. I personally am going to say, do I want a surgeon who's 85 years old operating on me? No. I'm sorry. Point blank, no, I don't. I just don't. And do you
Well,
want that?
they make pilots retire,
Yeah, they
and,
make
you know,
pilots
they
retire,
do.
they
Not
do.
ER docs yet, you
No,
know.
not irritants, but again, like, but the thing is, usually at some point, they step down themselves, and it's like,
I've all,
why not
well, you
step
know what,
down?
we need what I call a universal impairment scale to a certain
Yes.
extent,
Look,
both
there's
acutely,
licenses here.
both acutely
Yes,
and chronically,
and chronically,
you know.
yes.
And you know, it's tough. You know, we're really in a rough spot right now because I think there are many of us that really view this specific election and this specific time, 2024, abnormal once
It
again.
is.
You know, and there's I talk to patients all day, and I know that I have plenty of patients that live on Earth too. And I know they do, and I think they know that I live on Earth one, but we still communicate. And as I tell them, fortunately, cannabis allows us to do that, you know. And I think it is a middle of the, you know, aisle issue to that extent that we all need to continue to, you know, work towards. But it's that lack of shared truth,
Yes, that's
right?
the biggest problem.
That is the
right
biggest
now. It is
problem.
right
And
now.
how
It's
we get that
dividing the
back,
country.
it is.
And it's these people who just, no matter what you say to them, what you show them, I mean, it doesn't matter what the history is, they just
And there's a lot of
want it.
misinformation, you know.
Well, you have Donald Trump at the lead
Well,
of
there
that.
is.
He's
There
spewing out
is.
misinformation left and right, and
Right.
his followers are cult-like, and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, it's really crazy to think that the ones that vote for him tend to be some of the poorest and uneducated parts of the population in our country. And yet they follow him. And it's like, even the benefits that they get, especially in the poor states, they're on so many social welfare programs. Well, hello, those aren't Donald Trump's programs, kids. Like, wake up and smell the coffee.
Well, you're not going to make me make any jokes
Yeah.
about things being found out in the back of Jimmy Swaggart's dumpster and everything.
Yeah.
People that literally are living, you know, on the dirt, you know,
In the dirt.
are sending him their
Sending him
$10 or whatever the little, you know.
exactly. I mean,
token.
by the I mean, that
It's
was
crazy.
crazy.
It's just a crazy world, but even
crazy.
more
It really
accentuated
is.
now because of social media.
It is. And the people
This we carry in our pockets
And
every
that's the
day,
problem,
you
because
know.
people spew out things that are so just wrong, and then you have people who buy into it, and it's like, oh my God, it's like, it's frightening. And I know there's people that I personally know them, and I'm like, and some of them are buying into those messages. I'm like, do you check your sources? Do you know what these people are? And then you have them, some of them are quoting like they're medical doctors or what, like one day they're research scientists. Really? You barely have a GED.
You always see that in the cannabis space all the time too.
Seriously,
You know,
it's
things
like,
with very little
geez
research
Louise.
value get
Oh my
significant
God.
legs, and we saw
Yes.
that with the cardiac, you know, discussion. You know, that even talked about oral cannabinoids negatively affecting the,
It's crazy.
you know,
Talk about the
okay,
research.
well, that's what we want. That's what we
That's it,
need.
research.
That,
And there's significant things, like even in cannabis, so many positives. I mean,
you know, we
so
talked
many
about it here in the
positives.
office yesterday with one of our new patients, and it'd be so interesting right now, and we could do it, to take those new patients that have never used cannabis before and just start them on a patch
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, not anything else, just the patch.
That's actually a
And
good
then hang on, then
experiment.
you can have another little subset where you start them on a patch, but then a 1-to-1
Yeah, it's actually
gummy
good
twice
to-
a day. You know, so
It's
there's so
actually-
many
There's
things
so many things
that we and that's the one thing I want to make sure that we do. And you know, listen, people tune in to hear a little bit of cannabis talk, and I'm happy to give it to them. What we do know right now, everybody, is that a year from now things will look different. We don't know in what way. Will be after the election, whether Amendment 3 passes or it doesn't, whether they've taken action on Federal 1 to Schedule 3 or they haven't.
What's the
right?
state's gonna do? Like, I mean, everything's
For sure.
still like,
And I don't trust pharma and or insurance companies,
God,
you know,
not at
and
all.
I can't throw
Zero.
very far these days, you know, literally as far as I can throw them. So, you know, there's so many moving parts, but I think the only thing that makes sense is to absolutely, if you're a cannabis consumer or want to be a cannabis consumer, see a doctor, get educated, right? Learn how to use cannabis as medicine, right? And then you get to access a program that right now is functioning pretty well. You know, listen, that's why I think to a certain extent we'll have to see what happens if Amendment 3 does pass. Because listen, Chicken Little didn't fall, okay, when medical came into the zone. They're pretty comfortable with what goes on in medical right now in Florida. They're you know, it's been there. They are.
And they know it, and
they do it, they know it, they know it.
So
hopefully the respect for medical will remain, okay. no matter what happens. But the point is,
Well, if it's up to DeSantis, he doesn't want the smell of cannabis going into elementary schools.
we're
because
only
people will
seeing the
be-
beginning of the campaign,
Did you see him? He goes, there'll be 120 joints going into.
I
the
know,
elementary
no, I
school."
mean,
Yeah,
it's lunacy and
amazing.
it's disingenuous
Yeah.
because it ignores what I was leading to, is that it makes sense to have a cannabis card going into the process, because it will be, and kudos to Shelley Beasley for at least 8 different cliches, but I use her, devil's in the details. Proof is in the pudding. I got about, like I said, 8 more,
Yeah.
but they're all towards the same thing. It will be in the implementation of what goes on with any kind of next step here in
It will.
Florida, and we don't know.
Nobody.
So to
knows
me,
It's
that
very,
guarantee of the ability to know, that what is it, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the
To a
bush, or
bush.
something like that. Yeah, I know. Oh,
Kidding.
somehow today. But seriously, it just makes sense to me, and I have that conversation with patients all day, every day, and we'll continue to. So, shout out to everybody out there, who's still working hard.
yeah.
And once again, it's that research arm. I think ultimately, as we go forward,
It's
that
gonna
will be
be-
significant.
It
for
will,
sure.
because I do have to admit, though, I do have to say something, like being in Massachusetts, granted it was 4th of July,
Right, sure.
but the smell of weed
Yeah.
was everywhere.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
you're talking like you walk down the street and you're like, whoa.
Sure,
it's
I got it.
everywhere. It is.
And wouldn't that be interesting if beer had a smell,
Yeah.
or hard liquor had a smell? No, seriously, because I would say that the behavior of the cannabis consumer would be
It's much more
obviously
chill.
significant
Yeah,
chill,
it's really chill.
versus the behavior
it
of the
was very
alcohol
chill,
consumer,
and I ended
Let
up
freedom ring,
we ended up going to Provincetown for 4th of July. We were going to go on the Cape to Hyannis, which we went later, but we ended up in Provincetown. Those don't know Provincetown. It's an extremely, extremely liberal town, and it's very notorious for their LGBTQ community.
Sure.
Well, I have to tell you a hilarious story. So we were driving down the street, and there were cops everywhere, and they were like, these narrow streets, somebody's backing up into us, and the guy's like, go, go. And so we go, and we turn the corner, and we're like driving in our little Audi there, and we're like driving down the street, and people are like staring at us, like
Wrongly
looking
on
at
the
us, like,
parade route.
we led the parade. We were the first car in front of all the.
That's funny.
We're staring. They're like, "What are you doing here?" And we're like, "Oh my god, get out of the parade!"
That's funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, sure. Like if you had a top, just
We
get up
have an American
Yeah,
flag. We should have
right.
just been like, toot toot.
It's funny, every time that I think about a parade, I always go back to Animal House
Yeah, me.
and the parade at the end of Animal House. It's just, to me, it's just always the classic.
But it was so nice to see that Americana,
Sure.
where there are the parades. And
But
stuff.
listen,
It
different
was
areas of the
nice.
country do have various,
They
cannabis
do.
laws,
Yeah,
and
the
the
laws are
myriad of
different.
laws and craziness,
Yeah.
and people coming down from the north
Oh yeah,
that are used to certain
they're
things that
used
come to Florida.
Honestly, I have
and,
to say, up north, without joking, this is not. I'm not even kidding you. There's a cannabis store every 100 feet. Every
Sure.
100 feet. So like.
So, but whose stores are they? Are they hemp shops?
No.
necessarily? Are
This
they
is
state?
cannabis. No. This
State
is
regulated, or anybody? So they went
anybody-
horizontal, obviously.
They're horizontal.
So
They
where do
have-
the horizontals get their cannabis from that they?
I don't even know.
Right.
They said. Well,
So do they
actually,
have to buy it from one of the 4 or 5 that are
my brother
licensed to sell it to
no,
them?
no.
Or?
So they can buy. Like my brother said, they actually even buy from private farmers there. So
It's interesting.
a
So
very
that's what
open
everybody fights
system.
for in Florida, is that
Yeah, it's very
horizontalization.
open. And
you
so
know,
there
of
are
it.
like, I mean, literally, there are brands that I never heard of. I mean,
Sure.
and there's like literally, it's
interesting.
yeah, store after
Each
store
market's
after store.
different, and it
It's
can be very
different.
confusing for people when they come down here to
Well,
Florida.
it's so open there, and there is one on every corner, and you
Sure.
can just walk in. You have a
Right.
driver's license. You just walk in and
Right.
purchase.
Sure.
So it was interesting to see, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many, and it
Right.
was very open.
And Chicken
system,
Little
very-
the sky didn't fall up there either. Everything's
No,
okay.
everything. Oh
know,
god,
I know.
everything's okay.
And it's
so,
just
yeah.
an evolution of society,
Yeah, and people
2024.
don't panic, and people don't go into prohibitionism. And
Well, we're gonna hear the campaign gear up,
We
I think, as we come
will, we
forward. So
will.
we shall see. We'll be back in the green room to
also
talk about it.
for those, just I think, please be aware that there's a lot of school board votes coming up in August. And
Right,
so
right. There's a primary somehow,
late
primary,
there's
strange primary.
late primaries
It's
and
really
there's that,
weird.
so please be cognitive of that. Check out the
Sure.
candidates.
Check your voting status and all
check
that,
voting
and
status.
yeah.
Today, I
all
know
of
at
it.
Tiger Bay is school board, so anybody that's
Sure.
going to Tiger Bay, you're gonna hear Tom Edwards. You will, interestingly, not hear from Karen Rose. She declined to even attend Tiger Bay, the arrogant
Interesting.
person that she is. So
Yeah.
very, very
There's still a
interesting.
lot going on locally. And
Oh,
listen,
there
all
is.
politics are local.
Oh, all
that's for
politics are
sure.
local. So I know we're out of time. So everyone have a great weekend. Welcome back, and we're happy to be back. And we'll see you
at the
next
Green Room.
week.
Yep.
Time always flies.
It does. It does. It does.